So his voice heals us, his voice entertains us, his voice makes us enjoy. Please welcome John Legend!
What's happening, everybody? How's everybody feeling tonight? You all right? It's so good to be back here in Nevada. As you may know, I, for the past 6 months, have spent a lot of time here. Nevada has welcomed me and my family as we made this city our second home while I performed my Vegas residency. So we feel a lot of love for Las Vegas. We feel a lot of love for Nevada. This is a special place in my heart for all those moments that we've spent here. We've got family here. We were able to experience the communities here and just really embrace this city. And we love you and we appreciate you. Yes. And one thing I have seen and that I've learned about Nevadans is how much you value community. From supporting each other's small businesses that are the fabric of this town, to picking up prescriptions for your neighbors, to embracing new residents. Just like I was made to feel welcome, Nevadans show up for each other, especially when the going gets tough. And tonight, the reason why we're here is because we need to show up for our democracy. Is that right? We're celebrating democracy tonight. Democracy means that we can use our voices, we can use our votes to move this country, to move the world. With our vote, we can challenge, we can provoke, we can inspire our communities, we can tell our elected officials what we want to tell them. We can say they need to do better, they need to be better for us. We have a lot of power if we use it. I could not miss the opportunity to come back to Vegas on the eve of this crucial election. We're here tonight. It's a tough time in the country and around the world. It's a time of both pain and possibility. We can all see what's happening. We've got a war, we're recovering from the pandemic, and we're battling for our democracy. And we're also dealing with our economy, inflation, and the need to create more jobs that are high-paying jobs that can allow people to afford the lives they need to live for them and their families. But even amidst these challenges, we are not powerless. We have the power of our vote. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here, but we need the choir to go out and proselytize, all right? We're at a real inflection point in this country. What happens in this election is going to determine what happens for a long time after this election. We have to protect our democracy, our environment, women's right to choose. All these issues are on the line in this election. The opportunity and the consequence of these elections is why the Republican Party is afraid to let people vote in free and fair elections. They don't want you to use your voice. They want to put any obstacle in the way of you using your voice. And they want to make sure that if they don't win, they go and tell everybody it was rigged and it wasn't fair. We believe in the power of the people, and we believe that if elections are free and fair, that we will win. We want the people picking their politicians, not the politicians picking their voters. They want to gerrymander their voting districts until the legislature no longer represents the people. And that's why they spend so much energy trying to find any obstacle, any hurdle, any hindrance they can to discourage you from voting. They have become a party defined by their fear of voter participation. And we are here because we believe that elections can and do represent the will of the people. The will of the people is that health care is affordable and accessible to every American, regardless of their wealth, regardless of their pre-existing conditions. The will of the people is that women have the right to make their own health care decisions, and the government, the police, the district attorney, the state legislature should not be in the room with a woman and her OBGYN. Am I right? The will of the people is that we have sensible gun laws so our kids don't have to keep doing mass shooter drills in kindergarten. The will of the people is that we stop spending so much money destroying our communities by locking so many people up instead of making the investments in safety that will actually make our communities truly safer. That means focusing on mental health, focusing on drug addiction, focusing on homelessness. We have to make sure that our government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And in Nevada, you have the best reasons to vote. You have wonderful candidates running for senator, governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state. Every single one of these positions matter. And I came here tonight to Nevada because I know Nevadans deeply care about their neighbors and about their communities. I know the people of Nevada reject the forces of exclusion and cynicism and embrace the power of inclusion and hope. So we're going to vote. We're going to go out and tell our friends and neighbors to vote. In fact, I want everyone here to show up and find their nearest early voting site or mail ballot drop-off location and cast your ballot early. They let me vote early in California. I'm already done. My whole family's already done. Get it out the way. Let's break every turnout record for the state of Nevada. I know the people of Nevada are ready to show up and re-elect Steve Sisolak, Catherine Cortez Masto, and bring home a blue wave all across this beautiful state. Thank you so much. Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we gotta find a way to bring some love in here today. Oh, Father, Father, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer. Only love can conquer hate. You know we've got to find a way, bring some understanding here today. Oh, picket lines, picket signs, don't punish me with brutality. Talk to me so you can see what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. Oh, oh, everybody thinks we're wrong. But who are they to judge us simply because our hair is long? You know we gotta find a way, bring some understanding here today. Oh, picket lines, picket signs, don't punish me with brutality. Come on, talk to me so you can see what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. Oh, I appreciate you singing along with me tonight. I love it. I love to hear your voices. I'm going to play one more song, and I know you know this one too, and I want you to sing along to this one too. Is that all right? What would I do without your smart mouth, drawing me in and you kicking me out? Got my head spinning, no kidding, I can't pin you down. What's going on in that beautiful mind? I'm on your magical mystery ride, and I'm so dizzy, don't know what hit me, but I'll be alright. My head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind. Sing it. Love your curves and all your edges, all your perfect imperfections. Give your all to me, I give my all to you. You're my end and my beginning. Even when I lose, I'm winning, 'cause I give you all of me, and you give me all of you. Oh, how many times do I have to tell you? Even when you're crying, you're beautiful too. The world is beating you down. I'm around through every mood. You're my downfall, you're my muse, my worst distraction, my rhythm and blues. I can't stop singing, it's ringing in my head for you. My head's underwater, but I'm breathing fine. You're crazy and I'm out of my mind. Sing it. sound beautiful. Cards on the table, we're both showing hearts. Risking it all, though it's hard. 'Cause all of me love your curves and all your edges. Give your all to me, I'll give my all to you. Y'all sound so good. Oh, I give you all of me, and you give me all of you. Oh. Thank you, Nevada. I love you. God bless you.
We'll sing hallelujah. We'll sing hallelujah. So we've been outnumbered, raided and now cornered. It's hard to fight when the fight ain't fair. We're getting stronger now.
Please welcome to the stage your Nevada Governor, Steve Sisolak.
Báilame como si fuera la última vez y enséñame ese pasito que no sé, un besito bien suavecito, bebé. Taqui taqui, taqui taqui rumba.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Hello, Nevada. You heard from Dolores. What a leader she is. I mean, is that amazing or what? And you heard from John Legend. I'm not going to sing. You don't have to worry about that. But we heard from John. And one other thing off the top here. There's a friend of mine backstage in the green room that's going to be coming out after Catherine Cortez speaks. Why don't you let him know that you're out here waiting for him? President Barack Obama is back there. Come on, everybody. Give it up. You know, when I ran for governor 4 years ago, we had so many plans. From improving our schools, growing our economy, lowering the price of health care. But what we didn't plan for was facing the world's worst pandemic in a century, in 100 years. Thank you. The past few years have been tough on our families. No state was hit harder than Nevada. But I am so proud of the resiliency and the people of Nevada that fought so hard to get us back on track. We've surpassed our all-time high, employment-wise. We're getting people back to work faster than anywhere else in the country. Our kids are back into school in the classrooms where they belong. But Nevada, we've got more work to do, and we're not stopping now. I grew up in a blue-collar family in the Midwest. Put myself through college. Nevada's where I raised my two daughters that are here tonight. As a single dad, I opened a small business and helped take care of my 96-year-old mother. And where I married the love of my life, our First Lady, Steve Sisolak, who's with us tonight. I have lived the Nevada dream and working every day to make sure every person in the state gets that same opportunity. And that starts by lowering costs. I know our families are being pinched right now. And the truth is, I can't solve the inflation problem. But I'm doing everything in my power to put money back in your pockets by taking on the big drug companies and expanding affordable health care, lowering the cost of housing, child care, and free community college for more students. And we've done all that without raising a penny of taxes on everyday Nevadans. And we're proud of that. And here's something else. I've told this story. A lot of you have heard this story, heard me tell this story. Last year, I was on lunch duty, the public schools. To be specific, there's a school not far from here, and I walked in, and the principal said, "Nice to see you, Governor. Have you ever done this before?" I said, "No." She said, "Okay, you get milk duty then. You get to ask, do you want chocolate milk or do you want white milk?" That was it. That was my choice. And chocolate milk's 25 to 1. Let me tell you something. These kids love chocolate milk. And I noticed that the kids separated themselves into two lines. Two kids that go one line and one in the other, and then one in one line and one in another line. And I didn't quite understand it. And I was reading these kids' faces and seeing what they were feeling by looking at them. And there was a difference between the two lines. So I asked the principal, I said, "What's going on? What's the deal with the two lines?" She looked at me a little sad and said, "Governor, that's the line that the parents can afford to pay for the kids' lunch. If they get subsidized lunch, they go in the other line. We want one line in our lunchroom. One line." A couple weeks later, I was in another school. And for that, we put $75 million into free school lunches and breakfasts for every student in Nevada. Everyone. A couple weeks later, I was in another school. I got another chance to do hot lunch. Different school. And I came in, and the principal said, "Governor, have you ever done this before?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I had milk duty once. I've done this before." She said, "Okay, you can give out the entree tonight, this afternoon." So I got to give a choice of a grilled cheese sandwich or a piece of pizza. So I got to talk to the kids and had a great time. And at the end of the lunchtime period, little one, about yay high, couldn't have been more than 8, 9 years old, comes to me. Said, "Could I please get an extra grilled cheese to take home to my little sister?" And if that doesn't break your heart, I question if you have a heart. Because let me tell you something, no child should go hungry in the United States of America. That's our job, to fix problems. And we fight like hell for every citizen in the state of Nevada because you're that important to me. You are our family. That's just the beginning. We've got a lot of unfinished business, Nevada, a lot of unfinished business. And this year, you'll get to choose whether or not we get to finish that business and we get the job done. My opponents try to keep you in the dark the whole time on where he stands. He's trying to muddy the waters, lie to you, but you can see how extreme that he is. But I can tell you the difference between us. I can tell you. Yeah. In my first year, we gave our teachers the first raise that they had gotten in a decade. A decade. We funded our schools at the highest level they have ever been funded at. And he wants to take $300 million out of our public school system and give it away. We can't stand for that. Every child, regardless of their parents' zip code or their bank account, deserves a quality education. And we're going to make that happen. When it comes to affordable health care, my administration took on the big insurance companies and the medical debt collectors. We ended surprise billing for everyone. We protected, yeah, and if you've had a bill, you know what I'm talking about. We made sure that pre-existing conditions were covered, so you couldn't be denied coverage. And we're the second state to pass a public health insurance option for everyone that will take effect in 2026. But while I'm working to make health care more affordable and lower the cost of prescription drugs, my opponent says that affordable health care is BS. I think he's BS, but that's a different story. I know it's not BS to make sure that our families don't go bankrupt and that they stay healthy. But this year, that's on the ballot, too. And thanks to Donald Trump's Supreme Court, your right to choose is on the ballot. Yeah, I'll take a boo, yeah. Your right to choose, every woman's right to choose, is on the ballot. My daughters have less protection than the generation that came before them. That's just not right, folks. That's just not right. It is time that we draw a line and take a stand. My opponent is as extreme as he gets. He supports a ban on abortions, wants to ban contraceptives, would let other states throw our healthcare providers and women who travel for procedures in jail. That's what he wants to do. He would pass cruel policies. We signed an executive order to protect every woman coming to the state of Nevada and every healthcare provider from being prosecuted. But you heard what John Legend said, and he's 100% correct. A woman's decision on when and if to start a family is hers and her doctor's alone. No politician should be getting involved in that decision. That's a woman's right. That's a woman's right, and that's a human right. There's one other person that's counting on my opponent to win. The billionaire who was single-handedly bankrolling his entire campaign. Why would one rich guy spend $25 million plus and try to buy this race for Joe Lombardo? There you go. That's exactly right. Tell me he doesn't have something in it. And I said he was upset that we put, during the pandemic, we put an eviction moratorium in place, which meant you couldn't, and we needed to do that to protect our families. He didn't like that. He didn't want me to put an eviction moratorium in effect. And I said, hell no. We're protecting the citizens of Nevada, the residents that live here. Greedy billionaires are not going to tell me what to do. We're going to take direction from all of you. That's who we represent, you. But my team is stronger than that and better than that. I've got a small office team, a mighty team. I've got a couple of them are here tonight. I know my chief of staff, Ivana Kinsella, is here, and Bailey Borland is here too. And let me tell you something, they are working 25 hours a day to get the job done, and we appreciate everything that they do. Thank you. The bottom line is this, whether it's Donald Trump, who, get this, he called the greatest president ever. I mean, come on, folks. Give me a break. Give me a break. He doesn't care about working families. He cares about his rich billionaire friends and major corporations that he wants to give a tax break to and raise your taxes. That's what he wants to do. He's proved that he'll say and do anything to get elected. And he thinks you're not smart enough to see the truth. Well, I know you are smart enough to see the truth. He's not a leader. He's not a fighter. But but you have a choice this year. We've made a lot of progress in the last 4 years, folks. We've made a lot of progress. We've taken a lot of steps forward. We cannot afford to go backwards. It's not something we can do. We need to get out and vote, every single person, and get these people elected. Now, I'm guessing everybody here has probably voted already. Can I get a show of hands? All right. There you go. There you go. But that's not enough. Sorry. I need you to do something else for us here. I need you to get somebody else to go vote with you. I don't care if it's your next door neighbor, the guy down the block, you know, kid at the grocery store packing your groceries, somebody wherever. It could be somebody walking a dog in front of your house. Ask them if they voted and help them get out and vote. We need every vote. We need every vote, and I'm confident we have the ground game that can take on the billionaire people that are behind them. Because we're on the right side, they're on the wrong side. We made voting as easy as possible for everyone. Everyone got a mail-in ballot. You can still mail that back right up until next Tuesday. We still have 3 days of early voting left. And you can register to vote right up until the polls close next Tuesday. So if you haven't registered, you got somebody who hasn't registered, take them to register and vote. We have restored the voting rights of 77,000 previously convicted individuals who deserve their rights back. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. These races are going to be razor thin close, folks. I'm telling you. Some of these races are going to be decided by a couple hundred votes. That's how important every vote is. I was with a group of young folks at a boba tea shop last week. I didn't know what boba tea was until I went to the meeting. It's really pretty good. And got to talk to some of these young kids. And one of them said to me, he says, Governor, what difference does it make? I'm just one person. Why should I vote? I says, your vote means the world. The future is yours, but it's not yours if you don't exercise your right to vote and speak up. We need to get everybody voting. And whether it's my race, and I need your support, or it's Catherine Cortez Masto, you're going to see her in just a minute. Dina Titus, Susie Lee, Stephen Horsford, Lisa Conho-Burkhead, Aaron Ford, Cisco Aguilar, Zach Conine, and Ellen Spiegel, or our legislative candidates. We've got a lot of assembly, all of our assembly people and senators. Let's get out and vote for them as well. My opponent wants you to believe the worst. He wants to scare you. He wants to keep everybody home and suppress turnout. He wants you to think that your vote doesn't matter. He's wrong. He's damn wrong, because your vote does matter. The truth is this. In Nevada, our best days are ahead of us. The future is bright, folks, but it's only bright if we have the right leadership in place to guide us along the way, and that's what we intend to do. Our people, Nevadans, are resilient, they're determined, and they're battle-born. We're ready to build a better tomorrow for the next generation. It is the honor of my lifetime to serve as your governor, and we want to do it for 4 more years. Now, before we get the president out here, who's back there ready to go, I want to introduce a very, very dear friend of mine who's also in a really tough race. Her margins are just as thin as mine are, and she needs you to turn out and vote as well. So I'm starting to see some of those signs pop up. I need a lot more signs to pop up. Please join me in welcoming our United States Senator, Catherine Cortez Masto. Yes!
Too fast to prepare for this. Tripping in the world could be dangerous. Everybody circling his vultures. Negative, nepotist. Everybody waiting for the fall of man. Everybody praying for the end of times. Everybody holding up the
Hello, first of all. Hello, everyone. Hello, Nevada. Thank you, Governor Sisolak. We're going to send him back another 4 years, right? So, Nevada, how are we doing? Are we ready for this? You know, let me just say, 6 years ago, we made history, right? At that point, there had never been a woman elected to the Senate from Nevada, right? There had never been a Latina elected to the U.S. Senate. But thanks to your hard work and support, we changed that here in Nevada, right? You know, when my grandfather, a baker from Chihuahua, Mexico, when he came to Nevada 2 generations ago, he may not have envisioned his granddaughter serving in the U.S. Senate. But he did hope that with hard work, he could create a better life for our family. Now, that's a story every Nevada family shares. Hard work. That's what it's about. But you know, sometimes it isn't enough. Not when massive corporations are rigging the system against us, right? Here's what I know. It is on us to stand together and protect our state. As Attorney General, I stood up to the big banks who were throwing our families out of their homes and forced those same banks to pay $1.9 billion in housing relief to Nevadans, right? Because we have to stand together and protect our state, and that's what we do. In the Senate, I have taken on Big Pharma, forcing them to bring down prescription drug prices, right? And capping the cost of insulin at $35 a month. And I'll tell you what, I am leading the fight to hold big oil accountable for price gouging our families at the gas pump. Listen, they're raising prices on our families while making record profits, right? Just last week, One big oil company posted $9 billion in profits. That's outrageous. Outrageous. And with right-wing politicians trying to take away our freedoms, I'll tell you what, I will always stand up to protect the right of women to make their own health care decisions. A right that we take very seriously here in Nevada. But look, there's more work to do. And as your senator, I will tell you this, I will always, always fight for our families and our state. But we all know this, we cannot expect the same from my opponent. You all know who he is. You know Adam Laxalt, right? You know him because you stood with the majority of Nevadans who rejected him the last time he ran for office. And I'm here to tell you there is a big difference between us. Laxalt actually fought our Republican governor to block protections for dreamers in our state. Laxalt said he would have voted against legislation to bring down prescription drug prices. And right now, he is currently making millions of dollars at a D.C. law firm representing the big oil corporations that are ripping us off right now at the pump. So, do you think Adam Laxalt is going to tackle high prices, right? The guy who's defending oil companies like Shell and Chevron? Listen, Laxalt's not going to stand up for us. He's in their pocket. And we know we can't trust Laxalt when it comes to a woman's right to choose. This is a man who called Roe versus Wade a joke. And he celebrated when it was overturned. If he is elected, Nevadans will face a federal abortion ban. And Laxalt has called for a ban right here in Nevada, too. So here's what I know. I trust women to make these decisions, don't you? Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. So why doesn't Adam? And look, if we needed more evidence that Adam Laxalt isn't looking out for Nevada, just think about this. As Trump's campaign co-chair, he helped fuel the mob that attacked the Capitol and law enforcement on January 6th. I know, I was there that day, and I will never, never forget it. And not once since that time has Laxalt ever condemned that insurrection or took responsibility for his work to overturn that election. And now he's continuing to spread that big lie. Not only that the 2020 election was stolen, but if he loses this election to me, he's claiming it's stolen and he's going to do an investigation. It is outrageous. We know Laxalt. He's not on our side and has never been. There's never been. You heard the governor. You have heard so many of our candidates who came up today. There is a lot on the line in this election for our families, for our democracy, and for our freedoms. Listen, I have taken some tough fights before. I do know this. I am not about to let Adam Laxalt keep attacking our families here in Nevada. Because here's what I know. Here's what I know. When we elect candidates that stand up for all of us here in Nevada, that think about Nevada first, our families first, our businesses first, our children first, that means nobody gets left behind. That's what it's about. And that's why we need to elect these candidates, every single person that you've seen on this stage in Nevada. It matters. Absolutely, all blue. So, Nevada, we are going to get this done? All right. Is there energy to finish this? We've only got 7 days left. Are we got enough energy to get out there? I thought we did. I thought we did. Now, there's somebody who is going to just continue this energy and help us get across the finish line. Because I know he was here to help us in 2016. I am so proud to introduce another fighter to the stage. Someone who stood up for Nevada families every day as our president. Yeah. And he is back. He is back to help us fight for our state ahead of this critical election. So please join me, stand up, and welcoming to the stage President Barack Obama.
City lit by fireflies, advertising in the skies for people like us. And I miss you, I'm getting ready to leave the ground.
Hello, Las Vegas! Oh, it is good to be back in Nevada. Do not worry, I will not try to sing like John Legend. I can't do that. No. I can sing, but not like John Legend. Now, let me say first of all, whenever I come to Vegas, the hardest part is getting my team to leave. Somebody's always late for the ride to the airport. They're looking a little ragged, a little bleary-eyed. You know, sometimes they're always a little late. But the reason I'm here is simple. I'm here to ask you to vote. I'm here to ask you to vote for your members of Congress, Dina Titus, Susie Lee, and my good friend, Stephen Horsford. I need you to vote for your next Secretary of State, Cisco Aguilar. For your Attorney General, Aaron Ford. For your outstanding governor, Steve Sisolak. And to send Catherine Cortez Masto back to the United States Senate. And here in Nevada, you don't have to wait for November 8th to cast your ballot. You can vote early in person through November 4th at any early vote location in your county. You can drop your mail ballot off there, or you can just drop it in the mail. And you can vote at any polling place in your county on November 8th. There is no excuse, people. And if you have any confusion, if you're not quite clear, you can just go to iwillvote.com/NV. Find out where you need to go, and then make a plan. And then after you've made your plan, you got to help your family and friends make a plan to vote. Because, you know, they may want to vote, but, you know, Cousin Pookie, you know, your nephew Cesar, like they're planning, they tell you they're going to vote, but they're on their couch playing a video game. You got to talk to them. Don't just let them say, yeah, I'm going to vote. You got to take them with you if you vote early. Or if you vote in person on election day, take them with you. Because this election requires every single one of us to do our part. It's that important. Now, I think it's fair to say, that this country has gone through some tough times these past few years. We have been through some stuff. We're just now coming off a historic pandemic that wreaked havoc on families, on schools, businesses, communities. Everybody was impacted, some more than others. A lot of folks lost people that they loved. Maybe some people in this room lost some people that they loved. And the pandemic also highlighted, in some cases made worse, problems we've been struggling with for years. An economy that works real well for folks right at the top, but not so well for ordinary people. Housing, I love you back, but I'm going to make this point. Housing prices that are out of reach for too many people. Here in Nevada, you know that better than most. Communities where too many kids are out of school, and then they're out of work, and then they're out of hope. And sometimes that leads them to violence or despair. And then you've got this erosion of just basic civility and democratic norms. You got politicians who, instead of wanting to bring people together, do their best to stir up division and make us angry and afraid of one another, all for their own advantage. And all of this gets amped up. It gets hyped up 24/7 on social media because they find it more profitable to stir up controversy and conflict than to lift up the truth and facts. And we've been seeing recent examples of this. Look, a friend of mine, Mr. Paul Pelosi, was attacked viciously. Somebody broke into his home looking for his wife, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. And thankfully, I spoke to Paul a couple days ago, and he's going to be okay. But even as investigators do their job, find out what exactly motivated this person, one thing's clear. This increasing habit of demonizing political opponents creates a dangerous climate. And elected officials who do not explicitly reject or participate in over-the-top rhetoric, if that's what they're doing instead, if they just ignore or make light of that kind of violence, or if they encourage their supporters to stand outside voting places armed with guns and dressed in tactical gear, if that's the environment that we create, more people are going to get hurt. And we will be violating the basic spirit of who we are as a people. And by the way, let me just say, it is not just politicians now. I mean, we've seen just in the last few weeks, whether it's out of malice or ignorance, celebrities just posting up vile anti-Semitic statements on the internet. And it gets disseminated, and millions of people log on to that. I want to give you a tip, Nevada. I want to give you a tip. If you see or read something on the internet that says some people, certain kinds of people, whether it's white or black or immigrant or gay or Jew or Muslim, when you see something on the internet that says those people are the cause of your problems, that is a dangerous lie. That is a path that will tear this country apart. And so we have to reject that kind of thinking and that kind of rhetoric. And by the way, stop believing everything you read on the internet. So I get why people are anxious. Sometimes there's a mean spirit out there floating in cyberspace. And I get why you might be worried about the course of our country. I understand why sometimes it's tempting just to tune out. Just go watch football or HGTV or the Great British Baking Show, whatever you like. Or Real Housewives. I don't know what y'all watch. But I'm here to tell you, Nevada, that tuning out is not an option. Moping and feeling cynical is not an option. The only way to make this economy fair is if we, all of us, fight for it. The only way to save democracy is if we together fight for it. And that starts with electing people who know you and see you and care about you and believe in you. And that's what you did 2 years ago when you sent Joe Biden to the White House. He's fighting for you every day. He's got your back. He's doing everything he can to put more money in your pockets and to make your streets safer and to bring more good-paying jobs here to Nevada. That's what you did when you elected Steve Sisolak governor and made Catherine Cortez Masto the first Latina elected to the United States Senate. So now you need to do it again. Now you need to do it again. Because there may be a lot of issues at stake in this election, but the basic question that you should be asking yourself is who will fight for you? That's the choice in this election. Who will fight for you? Who will fight for working people who are struggling to pay the bills? Listen, inflation's a real problem right now. And by the way, it's not just here in the United States, worldwide. It's one of the legacies of the pandemic. It wreaked havoc on supply and demand and supply chains. And then you have a war in Ukraine that sent energy prices through the roof. So you see gas prices going up, grocery prices going up. That takes a bite out of your paycheck. It's no joke. It hurts. The question, though, you should be asking is, who's going to actually try to do something about it? Because if you watch these ads, Republicans, they talk about it a lot, but what's their answer exactly? What is their economic policy? No, they've got one. They want to gut Social Security and Medicare and then give their wealthy friends and big corporations more tax cuts. Because that's their answer to everything. I'm not joking. Literally, it does not matter what's going on. When inflation is low and unemployment is high, they want tax cuts. When it's the reverse, tax cuts. I was telling some folks in Michigan, if there was an asteroid headed towards Earth right now, they'd all get in the room. They'd say, you know what you need? We got to cut taxes for the wealthy. That's going to solve it. Really? I mean, I guess it's simple to just have one answer to every economic problem. You know, it's like, I remember, you know, when I had a test in math and sometimes I didn't study hard enough. Might have stayed up too late the night before, and it'd be nice if you could just write down 8. for every answer. You just have the same answer over and over again. Except, you know what? That's the wrong answer. And the Republican policies, they're not going to help you. But that's why Democrats actually have plans to take on drug companies to lower prices, to get the oil industry to clean up its act, to pass laws to make housing more affordable, to make sure big corporations are creating jobs in Nevada instead of overseas. They've got a plan. That's the choice in this election. That's what this is about. There's plenty. I love you back, but we got to focus right now. We got to focus. We got to focus. There's a lot of talk right now about crime. Now, violent crime has gone up over the last 7-8 years. By the way, it hadn't just been the last 2. They never talk about it when it went up under the other guy. You notice that? Funny how that works. And by the way, it's gone up not just in so-called liberal states, it's gone up in conservative rural areas too. But who will fight to keep you and your family safe? Is it going to be the Republican politicians who want to flood our streets with more guns, who actually voted against more resources for police departments? Or is it the leaders like Stephen Horsford and Dina Titus and Susie Lee and Catherine Cortez Masto, who worked with President Biden to pass the first major gun safety legislation in nearly 30 years? That's the choice in this election. That's what's at stake. Who will fight for your freedoms? Is it some of these Republican politicians and judges who think they should decide when you start a family or how many children you have or who you marry or who you love? Or is it Democratic leaders who believe that the freedom to make these intimate, personal decisions belong to every American, not politicians in Washington? You should be making those decisions. That's the choice in this election. That's what you have to decide. And finally, who is going to fight to make our democracy actually work for you? You know, Republican politicians, they've promised, I'm not making this up, they're quoted. If they get control of Congress, their big priority, their number one priority, they're going to spend the next 2 years investigating their political opponents. Some of them have said they're going to impeach President Biden. Now, they're not sure why. They're not sure what for yet, but apparently that's beside the point. Now, let me ask you a question. How's that going to help you pay your bills? How's that going to build more affordable housing in Nevada? How's that going to lower gas prices? Is that going to help you, or do you stand a better chance with President Biden and Democratic leaders who've worked together, sometimes with Republicans, to pass an infrastructure bill that creates new jobs, who are making health care and prescription drugs more affordable, who've made the single largest investment ever in fighting against climate change? That is the choice in this election. On the one hand, you got politicians who seem like they will do anything and say anything to get power, and leaders who share our values, who want to make your lives better, who want to move the country forward. And let me say this, Nevada. One of the difficult things about these kinds of rallies these days is sometimes this seems so partisan, as if it's just a Democrat-Republican thing. Look, my favorite president is a guy named Abe Lincoln, who helped found the Republican Party. It used to be that there were GOP members who championed progress in civil rights and rule of law. But these days, just about every Republican politician seems obsessed with two things: owning the libs and getting Donald Trump's approval. That's their agenda. They're not interested in actually solving problems. They're interested in making you angry and finding somebody to blame. Because they're hoping that way you don't notice they don't have an agenda. They don't have answers. I can tell you what Steve Sisolak is obsessed with. He may be too modest to talk about himself. Here's somebody who comes from a blue-collar family, raised 2 daughters as a single dad, started his own small business from scratch, and if that wasn't enough, also cares for his 96-year-old mother. Now, so Steve makes the rest of us look like slackers. But you know what that tells you? It tells you that Steve knows what Nevadans are going through. It's why, as your governor, he expanded child care. That's why he worked to lower the health care costs and to give teachers their first raise in over a decade. He knows what it's like to struggle. He cares about folks who are trying to make ends meet. He wants to make a difference. Over the last few years, Steve has made a difference. It's why Nevada's had one of the fastest economic recoveries in the country. But he knows we're not out of the woods yet, which is why he's investing in things like affordable housing. That's why you know, you've seen him fight for you. Now, Steve's opponent, I don't know who he's fighting for. He said he claims he's not a politician. But let me tell you, he sure acts like the worst kind. He says different things to different audiences, trying to play both sides. Somebody asked him, was the election rigged? He says, well, there was a modicum of fraud, but not enough to change the outcome. All right, well, was Donald Trump a great president? He's in a debate. Wait, don't boo. Vote. They can't hear you booing out there, but they'll hear your vote. So in a debate, this guy says, well, I wouldn't say great. But then, after the MAGA crowd got mad at him, puts out a statement saying, yes, by all measures, Trump was a great president. He says he would repeal Steve's executive order protecting women who come to Nevada to get an abortion. But then he changed his mind. As sheriff, he called for restricting high-capacity magazines. Sensible. But then, as a candidate for governor, he thinks that the gun industry should decide. Now, here's something you need to know about anybody you're thinking about voting for. I'm a White Sox fan. No matter where I go, in good times or bad, I'm a White Sox fan, and they've been bad lately. But you know what, if Steve's opponent lived in Chicago, he'd be wearing a Sox cap on the south side. Then he'd wear a Cubs cap on the north side. Then maybe at a fundraiser, he'd wear a Yankees cap. Nevada, you don't need a governor who goes whichever way the wind blows. You need a leader like Steve who will tell you exactly what he thinks, what he believes. Because he understands the point of politics is not just to say whatever's going to get you elected, but to actually do what is right. That's the kind of person you need to support. Same thing with Catherine Cortez Masto. Third-generation Nevadan. Grew up here in Vegas. Dad started out parking cars at the dunes. She and her sister were the first in their family to graduate from college. She knows what it's like to struggle and work hard. In the Senate, she succeeded my dear friend and her mentor, Harry Reid, who also, by the way, never forgot where he came from. She hasn't forgotten where she came from, which is why she's gone after big oil for high gas prices, why she takes on pharmaceutical companies to lower prescription drug costs. She's fought harder than just about anybody in Congress to make housing more affordable, because she wants to give every family the same opportunities that her family had. Now, Catherine's opponent, different story. What did I say about booing? You're going to vote. Don't boo. So Catherine's opponent, he moved to Nevada right before he ran for elected office. As a lobbyist, has made millions of dollars working for a firm that defended big oil companies. As Attorney General, fought to end investigations into big oil companies. So those are his peeps. That's who he listens to. I think it's fair to say he might be more interested in keeping them happy than he is fighting for you. And by the way, you don't have to take my word for it. A few weeks ago, 14 members of Adam Laxalt's family announced they were supporting Catherine Cortez Masto. 14. Think about that. Think about that. Now, let me say this. You know, we all might have a crazy uncle, you know, that kind of goes off the rails. But if you've got a full Thanksgiving dinner table, and they're all saying you don't belong in the U.S. Senate, when the people who know you best think your opponent would do a better job, that says something about you. And it says something about Catherine and the work that she's doing right now for the people in Nevada. And you deserve somebody who's going to stand up for a woman's right to make her own decisions about her body and her health care. Listen, abortion's controversial in this country, has been for a long time, and I genuinely believe there are good people of conscience who may differ from me on the issue. But we should all agree that women everywhere should be able to control what happens to their own bodies. It shouldn't be controversial to say that the most personal of healthcare choices should be made by a woman and her doctor, not by a bunch of mostly male politicians. Which is why when the Supreme Court struck down Roe versus Wade, it was a wake-up call, especially for a lot of young people, especially a lot of young women who maybe took Roe for granted. And it was a reminder that a politicized court can reinterpret what we thought was well-settled constitutional rights. We can go backwards. If Republicans take back the House and the Senate, we could be one presidential election away from a nationwide ban on access to abortion. And that might just be the beginning, because I taught constitutional law for 10 years. And I can tell you this, if a court does not believe that there is a zone of privacy that the government can't intrude in, that allows us to make certain decisions without government interference, then other freedoms that we take for granted may be at risk. And Justice Clarence Thomas already said as much. If there's no right to privacy, then same-sex marriage could be at risk. Almost every Republican in the House of Representatives voted against guaranteeing a right to use contraception. Think about that. If they take back power, there's no guaranteed birth control, couldn't be at risk. And so when you hear Catherine's opponent call Roe versus Wade a joke, and the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe a historic victory, that may not be how most women in Nevada saw it. Catherine has been a champion of women's health. If you send her back to Washington, she'll fight to make sure women here in Nevada always have access to the care that they need. That's what's at stake in this election. All right, I know it's getting late. It's a school night. Let me bring this on home for you. If all these things I talked about aren't worth 15 minutes of your time, I don't know what is. But just in case you do need one more reason to go vote, consider the fact that democracy is on the ballot. I got to admit, sometimes going out on the campaign trail feels harder than it used to. Not just because I'm older, a little gray. But back when I was first running for office, and that wasn't that long ago, you know, people didn't always agree with me on everything. But we could at least talk to each other. You know, I'd travel here in Nevada. I'd go up north. I'd go not just to Reno. I'd be going to like Elko and I'd talk to people and sit in diners. And you go to a VFW hall, go to a county fair around the country, different places, and you talk to folks. And maybe you'd have a piece of pie. I like pie. A cup of coffee. And you'd listen. And they might not always agree with me, and they might not vote for me. But we sometimes found we had some things in common. Talk about our kids. Talk about sort of bad jobs we used to have. Talk about a parent who got sick, and it was tough getting health care. And we'd see each other and our shared humanity. And sometimes we'd persuade each other. And that's why I ended up getting a whole bunch of Republican votes. And after I won, my opponent, John McCain, graciously conceded. And he wished me luck for the sake of the country. Because we understood that, yeah, we're competing, but we're also part of the same team, the same American team. That was the basic foundation of our democracy, and that's at risk right now. Democrats, let me tell you, are not perfect. I'm the first one to admit it. I wasn't perfect. Politicians, just like all of us, make mistakes. But right now, with a few notable exceptions who deserve credit, most Republican politicians, they're not even pretending that the rules apply to them. They seem to be willing to just make stuff up. And that's true here in Nevada, just like it is across the country. As the co-chair of Donald Trump's campaign in Nevada, Catherine's opponent helped to lead efforts to overturn the results of the last election. Don't vote. What are we going to do? We're going to vote. But he filed bogus lawsuits, pushed phony claims of voter fraud. So I think it's fair to say that if he loses this race, he's going to do it again. He has no actual evidence of election fraud because there's actually no widespread election fraud. But he's not going to let that stop him. He's going to look under every rock in the desert to try to find an excuse. Although if he wins, I'm guessing he'll be less concerned. All those votes will be legit. Funny how that works. Listen, I lost my first congressional race by 30 points. I got whooped. You know what I did not do? I didn't say this was rigged. I didn't claim fraud. I certainly didn't instigate a riot on the Capitol. Instead, I asked myself, How can I be better? How can I connect with voters better? Because that's how it's supposed to work. That's stuff we teach our kids, right? You know, you're in the sandbox, things don't go your way. You don't throw a tantrum. Throw something at the other kid. If you see your kid do that, you pull them aside. Kind of hard too, you know. It's like, listen, don't do that. We teach our kids to be fair, to be honest. Well, we should expect the same from our politicians. Because, listen, I understand that democracy might not seem like a top priority right now, especially when it doesn't always feel like the results work for you. You don't see enough progress on issues that matter to you and your family. Sometimes progress is slow. But we have seen throughout history, and we see right now around the world, what happens when you give up on democracy. You can see it in countries where the government tells you what books you can and cannot read. Countries where if you dissent, you get put into jail. Countries where reporters are silenced. Countries where it doesn't matter who you vote for because the same folks are going to win every time. And they'll do whatever they want. And where corruption is rampant because there's no accountability. When true democracy goes away, people get hurt. And it's hard to recover. It has real-life consequences. And that's why generations of Americans fought and died for the idea of self-government. That's what this flag is supposed to stand for. That's why we believe and set up rules and democratic norms that work. Rules we teach our kids when they're little about being honest and being fair, about how groups are supposed to make decisions, and everybody gets a say, and everybody gets a turn, and if you don't get your way, you don't take your ball and go home or have a tantrum. You get over it and try to do better the next time. Democracy is at stake in this election, Nevada. And that's why it's not enough to elect Democrats like Steve Sisolak and Catherine Cortez Masto. We also have to elect good people up and down the ballot. Like Cisco Aguilar, who's running to be your Secretary of State. You know, Nevada makes it easier to vote in most than many other states. You got early voting, you got universal mail-in voting, same-day voter registration. They don't just help Democrats, they make it easier for everybody to cast their ballot, no matter who you're voting for. Cisco's opponent wants to make it harder to vote. He's trying to one-up all the Republicans peddling lies about the 2020 election by saying that all elections in Nevada for the last 15 years have been fake. Really? The last 15 years, all of them. He's going around rural Nevada spreading lies about how you can't trust electronic voting machines. But apparently you can trust an election denier to oversee volunteers hand-counting ballots. That's not somebody you want in charge of your elections. It'd be like if the Raiders were playing the Chiefs and you notice that instead of the refs who've been calling games for 20 years, somebody said, hey, how about that guy over there wearing the Chiefs gear who's been tailgating for the last 3 hours, drinking some brews, and ranting about how the Chiefs actually beat the Bucs in the Super Bowl last year. They look impartial. Let's put them in charge. If you wouldn't do that for a football game, why would you do it for an election? Instead, what you need to do is vote for somebody like Cisco who believes that every vote should count. Full stop. Shouldn't be a radical idea. It didn't used to be a radical idea. That's why you've got to send Cisco into the Secretary of State's office to protect the integrity of our elections. Make sure your vote is counted. Right now, you get a chance to make a difference, so long as you vote. And we joke in my house, between me and Michelle can sometimes be the glass half empty. She can get a little down. I'm the hope and change guy. So I'm usually a little more optimistic. And sometimes when she gets down about the state of the country, state of the world, she's been reading too much, watching too much stuff, and hearing crazy stuff. And I'll say, hey, honey, it's going to be okay. Because I believe it will be. But you know what? It won't be okay on its own. The reason I believe it'll be okay is because I believe in you. It'll be okay if we fight for it and work for it. Not just on election day, but every day in between. That's why this election matters, Nevada. These may be tough times, but we've been through tough times before. We just have to resist the temptation to give up, to turn inward, to see politics as a zero-sum game where everything goes and rules are broken. And the only way people like, quote-unquote, us win is if people like them lose. Remember what I said at the beginning. That is how we lose. It's when we turn on each other and make up stuff about each other. But if we come together, then I'm optimistic. Because even in our darkest moments, and there have been darker moments in this country before, we've always had more in common than our politics and sometimes our politicians suggest. Even when times are tough, what unites us, family, community, respect, dignity, hard work, honesty. What unites us has always been stronger than what divides us. There have been certain values that bind us together as citizens. No matter who we are, no matter where we come from, no matter what we look like, no matter who we love, that's the promise of America. That's what this stands for. That's who we are. And in this election, you have a chance to vote for leaders like Stephen Horsford and Dina Titus and Susie Lee and Aaron Ford and then Cisco Aguilar and Steve Sisolak and Catherine Cortez Masto, who believe in that flag and believe in those values and will fight for the big, inclusive, hopeful, forward-looking America that we all believe in. We may not fix all our problems overnight, but we can make things better. And better's worth fighting for. So if you're anxious or frustrated right now, don't complain. Don't tune out. Don't get bamboozled. Don't fall for the okie doke. Get off your coat. Get off your couch and do what? Put down your phones and do what? Vote for this incredible Nevada Democratic ticket. Make sure other folks do the same. If enough of us make our voices heard, we will build a country that is more fair and more just and more equal and more free. I believe in you. Let's go do it. Thank you, Las Vegas. Thank you, Nevada. I love you. Come on.
When I see you on the street, my poor money gets weak. When you stand in the crowd, your love talks to me so loud. Girl, do I do what you do when I do my love to you? When I hear you on the phone, your sweet, sexy voice turns my ear all the way on. Just a mention of your name seems to drive head insane. Girl, do I do what you do when I do my love to you, baby? Yes, I got some Yes, I got some honeysuckle chocolate dip and kisses full of love for you. Yes, I got some candy kisses for your lips. Yes, I got some honeysuckle chocolate dip and kisses full of love for you. My life has been waiting for your love. My arms have been waiting for your love to arrive. My heart has been waiting, my soul anticipating your love, love, From the time that I awake, I'm imagining the good love that we'll make. If to me, if I can do all this, well, just imagine how it's gonna feel when we hug and kiss. Sugar, do I do what you do when I do my love to you? All right. Yes, I got some candy kisses for your lips. Yes, I got some honeysuckle chocolate dip and kisses full of love for you. Yes, I got some candy kisses for your lips. Yes, I got some honeysuckle chocolate dip and kisses full of love for you. My life has been waiting for your love. My arms have been waiting for your love to arrive. My heart has been waiting, my soul anticipating your love, your love, your love. Oh, I don't care how long it might take, 'cause I know the woman for me you I'll make. And I will not deny myself the chance of being part of what feels like the right romance. Girl, do I do